Alright, so I have a web page that I found, and I would like to share this. Get rid of this ad here. Star Trek Discovery designers tease new and reimagined aliens for Season 2. This guy right here, we'll get into him in a little bit, if you don't know who he is already. But today, CBS kicked off the new Facebook Live series featuring the people behind the camera of Star Trek Discovery, with creature designer Neville Page and makeup designer Glenn Hetrick. Oh, you can see those two right here. I might have to follow that series just to see what's going on. And yes, the original Saru. That was the original Saru. And it says it's crazy, but I don't think it's too much of a problem. Look at him. The Saru that we get has two eyes facing forward, and binocular vision such as that is something you find more on predators than you find on prey. And in his species, it might have been predatory in nature before whatever took over and made it prey. I think he said he was more like cattle at one point. So it's possible that they were predators, then became prey. But if you look here, if they were ever prey beforehand, this thing can see off to the sides and see predators approaching from the side, and it can see forward, so it could help develop which would help develop technology. The only problem are these two horn things here, unless that is cut off for aesthetic purposes. Maybe it is a horn that they would chop off because it would get too heavy and hinder them. So that is, oh, that's Saru. You can see some more of it right there. Alright, the second thing on this list, it looks like there will be more Klingon looks coming to Season 2. What they have to say about that is, let's see. Oh, Hetrick there. I was trying to see who said it. When you look at the beloved Klingons from TOS and Next Generation in the movies, the way the look evolves, the one thing that always bothered me was their wardrobe is almost always the same. But no, TOS had different styles, had a different wardrobe than pretty much everyone else. It changed a little bit in there too, but if I remember, it was usually more of a t-shirt design than it was the leather armor that we see later on. The look is almost always unified. Yeah, and that's one of our biggest goals, of course, not having grown up on different planets, how different cultures would have looked. The houses would look incredibly different. Possibly. I would actually retort that it is all one single empire, and especially if the Klingons that we see are usually warriors, or if there is a single sort of religious figure unifying them, then there can be a very similar look to their clothing as we see. And I would like to know how you would explain the differences in clothing now, 100 years before we really see the Klingons, like in the TNG era. How is it that you have this unified look in the future, but a different look now? And I think Enterprise was in the same boat. The Enterprise show had a similar look to its Klingons. I'm not going to look it up. Maybe I should. The augment virus. Okay. Yeah, so it's a more primitive style to it. And I forget what Kalis was wearing. So the thing is, it's a unified culture and a unified empire. There might be slight differences but the houses try and follow the same culture. And I don't see a problem too much. It does make it a little more bland perhaps, but at the same time, there's no reason to really go back to them and change their clothing other than you just want to aesthetically change everything for change's sake. Let's see. A truly alien character is teased for Season 2. Well, that's nice. I do wonder, especially once you get outside the Milky Way galaxy, if there will be less humanoids. You know, it's easier to have humanoids, and he mentions that in here, that with prosthetics and makeup and everything else that goes along with making a new alien, it's easier to keep humanoids than to constantly to have a constant non-humanoid alien. Let's see, more interesting background characters in season 2. Now this is funny. One of their favorites was Troy Januzzi, who was on board the Shinzu in the first 2 episodes, the Shinjao in the first 2 episodes. And look at him. Now I don't know why they care. This is basically Geordie LaForge with a Lobot thing stuck on the back of his head, because that's all that makes him different. He just has that Lobot computer from Star Wars, and they even mention it, Lobot. Of course, Lobot didn't smile, but why? I don't know why you would be excited about this guy, because one, he only showed up in 2 episodes, and actually a lot of the crew members didn't really do anything until maybe the last episode. They did some things. The point is, they did some things. They didn't do a lot. They were not. It wasn't like the rest of the series. All of, from TOS to Enterprise, most crew members had something to do throughout most of the episodes. And I don't know. I just don't care to see more Lobots on here, nor an exploration of it. There's no point. Never mind. An awesome canon alien will make a big return for season 2. I think Saurians were the ones that had the brandy. So I wonder what Saurians look like. Saurian. Alright. I guess it could be a subspecies. You have to... yeah, I guess it could be a subspecies, and that's why it looks different. And it's fine having genetic differences among species. You have the differences between the Romulans and the Romulans and the Vulcans, where the Romulans have more distinct brow lines than the Vulcans do. So I guess this is possible. Now here's something that'll burn my biscuits, and maybe yours too. Do you guys really want to do the Borg? Now bear in mind that Star Trek Discovery is based 10 years before the original series. And if taking Enterprise out of it, the Federation first meets the Borg, and the Borg first see the Federation, really take interest in the Federation in... Oh wait, no, it wasn't just the Enterprise. I'm sorry. I think I forgot my TNG lore. I think the Borg actually were behind the colonies being destroyed on the neutral zone. So I guess they knew of the Federation then. For whatever reason, they didn't try and invade after that. But going on to when the Q introduced the Borg to the Federation, and vice versa, that is the first time that the audience sees them. And it looks like Picard is unaware of them at that time. So you have that, and then you have Enterprise having the Borg, and for whatever, I forget why they explained in the show, but overall, whatever reason, the Borg actually managed to invade Earth in the past in Archer's time and send off a message before being destroyed and covered up. And that message is supposed to take 200 years to get to the Delta Quadrant, and that's supposed to introduce the Borg to the Federation. So you take those into consideration, and at no point are the Borg supposed to know about the Federation in Kirk's timeline. So now you have to introduce it. Not only do you introduce a species that wasn't supposed to be there in a prequel, which you can do, but you now have to explain why they don't show up later, especially when they really kick ass later on. So what's the point? Just because they're famous and you want to leave your mark on the Borg. And the other thing is, there's so many things you can do with it. You can contemporize it. Where did he say contemporary? There we go. Make it more modern looking. So you're going to make it 100 years before Picard's Borg, but you're going to make it more modern, which they already did with Discovery. But that's not the point. The point is that you have another alien species that you're going to make look different and look more sleek than they show up in TNG. And that's possible because aesthetics it's sort of subjective as far as what looks modern and what doesn't. But there's why are and he even mentions, where is it? Find some rusty and cool metallic tones. Why would they be rusty? These are the Borg do not treat their drones poorly. Relatively speaking, the drones are maintained. If they start falling apart, then they're recycled. But drones are not allowed to be rusty. Why would you allow rust to be in there? These are species, let's see, Picard is 300 years ahead of us. So these species, the Borg, maybe 400 years more advanced than us, and they have rust? No. That's just stupid. And then here's this is probably even worse. Glenn wants to expose the Breen, a species that was built up by constant mention in just one-liners throughout each episode, or throughout different episodes in DS9 and maybe even in TNG. I don't remember that. But you had the Breen constantly mentioned and built up. It was this mysterious race, just one of those races you talk about in the background. They decided to bring them in that episode with Zial. I think that's the first one, where they're running the mining camp and Kira and Dukat rescue Zial from the Breen. And then you have the Breen show up on the asteroid that Worf, Garrick, and Bashir are imprisoned on. And that Breen decides to sacrifice his life trying to escape and gets killed in the process. After the entire episode in which it just slept on the bed or laid on the bed, it was just there. And then eventually, I'm going into it, eventually end this and that. Yeah, they joined the Dominion after seeing that the Dominion treat their species like subservient slaves. For some reason, the Breen thought that would be a better idea than helping defend the Federation. They might have been able to use the energy dampeners to help defeat the Dominion. But no, they decided to turn against the Federation, Klingons, Romulans, and the rest of the Alpha Quadrant for whatever purpose suited them. On top of that, they're all shown in a mask, and their speech is always garbled for the audience. So we never know what they're saying. But you want to expose it and take away that mystery and what makes the Breen so cool. Because that is what makes the Breen cool. They're mysterious. You don't need to know, you don't need to see what's underneath it. That Bosch mask from Star Wars, that is really what that is. That Bosch mask from Star Wars, that is really what it is. It's I think Industrial Light and Magic, whoever works with Lucasfilms on Star Wars, they were working on this episode and they pulled that hat out of mothballs and said, "Here, let's do this." So that's just some of the updates that they have for Star Trek. Interesting. Maybe I'll look at that later. Carpool karaoke. Oh gosh. But really, that's not making season 2 look any better than season 1 looked. So that's the coverage of that article I found today. Please let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. And if you like more videos like this, please tell me so I can do more videos like this.